We have been told a lie since childhood. A lie repeated so many times, it became invisible, woven into our culture, our education, our everyday conversations. That lie is this: that wealth equals money, that your worth is measured by the size of your paycheck, the brand of your clothes, the model of your car, the square footage of your house. They told you that if you worked hard enough, long enough, and obediently enough, one day you would achieve this thing called wealth. But here's the truth no one ever told you. Money is not wealth. At best, it is a shadow of wealth, a fragment of it, a tool that can serve or enslave. The world has been conditioned to chase the shadow instead of the source. And that is why most people live tired, broken, and empty, even when they have everything they once dreamed of. Wealth is not just numbers in a bank account. Wealth is freedom. Wealth is peace of mind. Wealth is health in your body, clarity in your thoughts, love in your relationships, and purpose in your days. Without these things, money is a curse. Think of the man who drives a luxury car but cannot enjoy the ride because his heart is heavy with stress. Think of the woman who owns a mansion but feels lonely in every room. Think of the billionaire who cannot sleep without medication, who cannot smile without chemicals, who cannot look in the mirror without shame. Tell me, are they rich or are they poor in disguise? True wealth is invisible before it becomes visible. It begins in your mindset, in your habits, in your courage to say no to the life everyone else tells you to live. It is the ability to wake up and choose your day instead of selling every sunrise to someone else's dream. It is the power to sit at the dinner table with your family, unhurried, unchained, fully present. It is the calmness to rest at night, knowing you are not drowning in debt, not enslaved to the approval of others, not terrified of tomorrow. And yet, why is it that no one ever told you this? Why was it never taught in schools? Why do we see advertisements for luxury but never for peace? Because the system thrives when you chase money and ignore wealth. A man who only values money will trade his life for it. He will work endlessly, consume endlessly, compete endlessly, and in the end, he will die endlessly unsatisfied. But when you understand this hidden truth, the game changes. You no longer envy those who appear rich because you see the emptiness behind the mask. You stop selling your time for survival and instead you begin investing your time into building something that multiplies. You stop chasing symbols and start building substance. Time, listen carefully, is your most expensive currency. You can always make more money, but you cannot create more time. Once an hour is gone, it is gone forever. This means that if you spend your life trading hours for dollars, you may be earning money, but you are losing wealth. Real wealth is when your time serves you, not when you serve time. Think about it. The man who earns $1,000 in a day but spends it all on things that own him is poorer than the man who earns $100 and invested into his growth, his freedom, his legacy. Wealth is not measured in digits. It is measured in direction. Where is your life moving? Toward freedom or toward bondage? And there is another dimension most people forget: spiritual wealth. This is the wealth that no bank can measure, but every soul can feel. When you are aligned with your purpose, when you live with meaning, when your money is a tool and not your master, you have wealth that no recession, no inflation, no crisis can take away. Because while economies rise and fall, the spirit that is anchored in purpose cannot be shaken. The hidden truth about wealth is that it begins inside before it manifests outside. That's why two people can have the same amount of money and live completely different lives. One will be enslaved, addicted, insecure. The other will be free, generous, and at peace. The difference is not the money. The difference is the mindset. So ask yourself right now, if money disappeared tomorrow, would you still be wealthy? Would you still have health, peace, love, wisdom, and purpose? Or would you be empty, broken, desperate for something to fill the void? Wealth without wisdom is wasted. Wealth without health is hollow. Wealth without love is lonely. Wealth without freedom is slavery. This is what no one ever told you. They sold you the illusion, but never the truth. And the reason this matters is because once you understand this, you stop playing by the rules of the world. You stop competing for approval. You stop burning years chasing things that cannot satisfy. You start redefining wealth on your own terms. And when you do, something incredible happens. Money begins to follow you. Why? Because money is always attracted to value. And when you are free, when you are healthy, when you are wise, when you are aligned, you become valuable. This is the foundation of everything. Before we talk about systems, strategies, investments, or opportunities, we must first confront this truth. Wealth is more than money. If you cannot grasp this, everything else you build will collapse. If you can grasp this, everything else you build will stand unshaken. From the day you were born, you were placed into a system that pretends to prepare you for life, but in truth prepares you for obedience. Look back at your earliest memories of education. The ringing of a bell, the lining up in rows, the memorization of information you would never use. They told you this was for your benefit, but it was never designed for your freedom. It was designed for your compliance. Schools do not teach wealth. They do not teach financial freedom, entrepreneurship, or how to create value in the marketplace. They teach you how to be an employee. They condition you to show up on time, follow instructions, and fear failure. They train you to seek approval through grades, not through creativity or innovation. They mold you into a cog for someone else's machine, and then after years of conditioning, they release you into the world with one instruction: go get a job. The job becomes the anchor of your life, not because you love it, not because it fulfills you, but because you were never given another choice. You were never told that freedom could exist outside of it. The job pays you just enough to survive, but not enough to escape. You live from paycheck to paycheck, believing this is normal, believing this is life. But life was never meant to be lived in chains. Debt then enters the picture. Before you even have a chance to build wealth, the system ensures you are enslaved to loans. Student loans, car loans, credit card debt, mortgages. Every contract signed becomes another shackle. The banks profit, the corporations profit, the system profits, but you do not. You spend decades working not to build your dream, but to pay interest on someone else's fortune. Do you see it now? The system was never built for your wealth. It was built to keep you chasing survival. Because when you are trapped in survival mode, you cannot think about freedom. You cannot think about building your own vision. You are too exhausted, too distracted, too afraid. Look around you. Why do advertisements constantly scream for your attention? Why do they flood your life with products you don't need, clothes you wear once, gadgets that break in a year? It is because consumerism keeps you broke. They sell you the lie that happiness is purchased. They tell you that if you just buy the next phone, the next car, the next vacation, you will finally be complete. But the completion never comes. It is a cycle carefully designed to empty your pockets and fill theirs. And while you are distracted, the wealthy play by different rules. They do not trade time for money. They do not seek approval from bosses or rely on a single paycheck. They build systems, create leverage, and make money work for them instead of working for money. The very things schools never taught you, the very lessons hidden from you, because if everyone knew them, the system would collapse. The truth is uncomfortable, but it must be spoken. The world is not structured for your prosperity. It is structured for your dependency. They want you to need the job. They want you to need the loans. They want you to need the products, because as long as you need, you are controlled. But here's the awakening. Once you see the game, you are no longer fooled by it. You begin to question why you buy what you buy. You begin to ask why you must spend 40 years in an office just to maybe retire with enough to survive. You begin to wonder why the wealthiest individuals seem exempt from the rules everyone else lives by. It is because they understood the truth the system hid from you. They learned that wealth is built through ownership, not labor, through creating value, not following orders, through leveraging assets, not selling hours. They realized that freedom comes not from playing the system's game, but from rewriting the rules. Ask yourself, when was the last time your school taught you how taxes actually work? When was the last time you were taught how to invest, how to build a business, how to multiply your money instead of just earning it? The silence is deafening, isn't it? Because ignorance is profitable. If you do not know the rules, you will always be exploited by those who do. This is why the rich grow richer while the poor remain trapped. It is not luck. It is design. And until you confront that design, you will remain a servant to it. But here is the good news. Awareness is the beginning of liberation. The moment you see the system for what it is, you begin to break free. You start to use your job not as a prison, but as a stepping stone. You stop wasting your income on empty consumption and start investing it in your growth, your skills, your freedom. You stop living to impress strangers and start living to build your legacy. The system does not want you to think this way. It wants you distracted, entertained, endlessly scrolling, endlessly spending, endlessly waiting for the weekend. But the moment you take control of your mind, you take control of your life. Wealth will not be taught to you. You must teach yourself. It will not be handed to you. You must take it. It will not appear through hope. You must build it with intention. Yes, the system is designed to keep you poor, but you are not bound to stay poor. Once you see the chains, you can break them. Once you know the game, you can win it. Once you decide that survival is not enough, you can begin to live. And that decision, the decision to no longer be a servant of the system, but the architect of your own future, is where the journey to true wealth begins. There is a belief you have carried since childhood, a belief planted by teachers, reinforced by parents, and echoed by society. It is the idea that if you simply work hard enough, you will succeed. That effort alone is the key to wealth. That the sweat on your brow, the hours you sacrifice, the nights you spend grinding will one day buy you freedom. But look around. Do you not see men and women who work harder than anyone else and yet live paycheck to paycheck? The single mother juggling 2 jobs, the laborer who breaks his back in the sun, the driver who spends endless hours on the road. They work tirelessly and still they barely survive. Meanwhile, others live in abundance, earning more in a single day than most will see in a month. Are these people always smarter? No. Are they always more deserving? No. The truth is far simpler. Wealth does not follow effort. Wealth follows value. This is the hidden truth no one explained to you. Effort alone is a trap. The system tells you to work harder, but what it never tells you is that effort without value is exploitation. They reward you not for how many hours you give, but for how much value your work creates. And because most people never understand this, they trade decades of effort for pennies while a few create massive wealth by learning how to multiply value. Think of it this way. 2 people can work the exact same number of hours. One earns minimum wage flipping burgers. The other earns thousands of dollars writing a single contract. The difference is not the hours. The difference is the value they bring to the marketplace. Value is the currency of wealth. The marketplace pays you in direct proportion to the problems you solve, the impact you create, and the rarity of your skill. If your work can be replaced, your pay will be small. If your work is unique, if it transforms lives, if it solves deep problems, your pay will be limitless. And this is where most people misunderstand the path to wealth. They think the solution is to work harder, but the truth is the solution is to work smarter by increasing the value of what you bring. If you want more, you must become more. If you want greater wealth, you must create greater value. Consider the doctor who saves lives daily. Her skill took years of training, sacrifice, and learning. She earns more not because she works harder than everyone else, but because the value she delivers is immense. Now consider the entrepreneur who invents a product that changes how millions of people live. His wealth multiplies not because of effort alone, but because of the scale of value he created. One person touches dozens, another touches millions. Value multiplied is wealth multiplied. This is why some people seem to defy logic. They do not work endless hours, yet their wealth grows exponentially. It is because they understood leverage. They found ways to take their value and scale it. Instead of trading hours for dollars, they trade ideas for impact, systems for sustainability, creativity for currency. And here is the paradox the system never taught you. The harder you work at low-value tasks, the poorer you remain. Because effort at the wrong level is still wasted. Digging a hole with your bare hands for 10 hours will never equal the value of a person who designs a machine that digs 10 holes in one. The marketplace does not care about your sweat. It cares about your results. But notice this. This truth is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to liberate you. Because once you know that wealth follows value, you realize you are not limited by effort alone. You can increase your value by learning, by developing rare skills, by solving bigger problems. You can multiply your value by building systems that reach more people, by innovating solutions, by connecting ideas others cannot see. Ask yourself, are you trading time or are you trading value? If your answer is time, you are a slave to effort. If your answer is value, you are stepping onto the path of wealth. The question then becomes, how do you increase your value? The answer is simple but requires courage. You must become a student of life. Read relentlessly. Learn from mentors. Develop skills that others run from because they are difficult. Seek knowledge that compounds, not trivia that distracts. Invest not in things, but in yourself, because the person who grows in value can never be taken down by circumstances. When you increase your value, opportunities chase you. People pay for solutions. They pay for leadership. They pay for innovation. They pay for courage. And when you embody these, wealth begins to flow naturally. This is why so many who chase money never find it. They aim at the wrong target. They pursue the paycheck instead of pursuing mastery. They desire income but ignore impact. They forget that money is always a byproduct, never the root. Focus on value and the money will follow. Focus on money and you will lose both. And here is another secret. Value is not just what you know, it is who you are. Integrity has value. Character has value. Discipline has value. When people trust you, when they believe in your consistency, when they see that your words and actions align, you become valuable beyond price. Because in a world drowning in deception, authenticity is rare. The wealthy understand this. They guard their reputation. They protect their credibility. They focus on building relationships that compound in trust and opportunity. Meanwhile, the poor often sabotage themselves, trading short-term gains for long-term losses, selling integrity for quick comfort, destroying value instead of building it. But once you embrace the principle that wealth follows value, everything changes. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop obsessing over luck. You stop envying those ahead of you because you realize they built value in places you did not. Instead, you begin to ask, how can I increase my value today? What skill can I master? What problem can I solve? What impact can I make? Do you see the shift? Hard work alone is a trap, but valuable work is a key. The key to freedom, the key to abundance, the key to the life you are meant to live. So let me ask you one final question in this chapter. What value are you creating right now? Not what hours are you spending, not what effort are you giving, but what true value are you offering the world? Because your answer to that question will determine not just your wealth, but your destiny. We have spoken about freedom. We have spoken about the system. We have spoken about value. But now we must confront the deepest layer of all, the foundation that either creates wealth or destroys it before it ever arrives. That foundation is the mind. Every fortune, every legacy, every breakthrough begins first as a thought. And every failure, every sabotage, every collapse also begins in the same place. The battlefield of wealth is not Wall Street. It is not the marketplace. It is not the economy. It is the mind. You see, most people are poor not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack belief. They are enslaved not by chains of iron, but by chains of thought. They live inside invisible prisons. Built from words they heard as children, money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. Rich people are greedy. That's not for people like us. Each phrase becomes a brick. Each repetition becomes a wall. And soon, without realizing it, they live inside a cage built by someone else's doubts. This is why lottery winners lose fortunes overnight. It is why professional athletes, after earning millions, end up bankrupt. Their bank account changed, but their mindset did not. And until the mind changes, nothing else lasts. Your beliefs are the thermostat of your wealth. If you believe money is evil, you will sabotage it. If you believe you are unworthy, you will push it away. If you believe wealth is reserved for others, you will never fight for it yourself. Your mind determines the ceiling you will never rise above unless you break it. So let us ask, what is wealth, if not first an idea? Someone imagined the company before it was built. Someone envisioned the invention before it was real. Someone believed they could break free before they ever touched freedom. That belief created the action. That action created the result. And that result created the wealth. But what happens if the belief is missing? Nothing. You can have skills, opportunities, even resources, but if your mindset is poisoned by doubt, fear, or scarcity, you will find ways to destroy what you build. The outside always follows the inside. This is why mindset is not optional. It is everything. Because the world will test you. The system will tempt you. Circumstances will break you if your mind is fragile. But when your mind is strong, when it is conditioned for abundance, you become unshakable. Scarcity is the enemy. It whispers that there is not enough money, not enough opportunity, not enough space for you. It tells you to compete, to fight, to hold tightly to what little you have. And in that fear, you live small. But abundance speaks differently. It says there is more than enough money, more than enough opportunity, more than enough space for everyone to rise. Abundance says create, and you will see. Scarcity says cling, and you will lose. Which voice are you listening to? Because that voice determines your future. When you embrace abundance, you stop envying others. Their success no longer threatens you. It inspires you. You stop hoarding and start giving. You stop shrinking and start building. And what happens when you act from abundance? You attract more abundance. The opportunities that seemed hidden appear. The doors that seemed locked swing open. The people you needed to meet begin to cross your path. This is not magic. It is mindset. When your eyes are trained for lack, you overlook every chance. When your eyes are trained for abundance, you recognize opportunity everywhere. And let us not forget discipline. Abundance is not simply positive thinking. It is forged through habits. A wealthy mindset is one that chooses long-term gain over short-term comfort. It saves instead of wastes. It invests instead of consumes. It learns instead of distracts. Every choice is a brick building the mansion of abundance. But scarcity loves shortcuts. It loves instant gratification. It loves debt, consumption, and the illusion of wealth without the substance. And that is why scarcity destroys generations while abundance builds them. Think of the farmer. Scarcity says, eat the seeds now, for you may not have enough tomorrow. Abundance says, plant the seeds, for tomorrow will multiply them. One mindset consumes the future. The other creates it. Which one are you living with? Your environment feeds your mindset as well. If you surround yourself with people who complain, you will complain. If you surround yourself with people who blame, you will blame. If you surround yourself with people who live small, you will shrink to fit their comfort. But if you surround yourself with people who dream, you will dream. If you surround yourself with people who build, you will build. If you surround yourself with people who live abundantly, you will rise to meet them. This is why wealth begins not with money, but with what you allow into your mind. Guard it as your most precious asset. Refuse the poison of scarcity. Reject the lies of unworthiness. Replace them with truth, with possibility, with faith. Because here is the greatest secret. Your life will always rise to the level of your thoughts. The poor man with a wealthy mindset will eventually find a way to rise. The rich man with a poor mindset will eventually find a way to fall. This is why the mind is everything. And yet this is the lesson you were never taught. No one ever sat you down and said, your beliefs will shape your destiny. They told you to memorize facts, to follow orders, to chase money, but they never told you that the greatest battle would be fought inside, that your mindset could either enslave you to poverty or free you to wealth. So hear this now. Abundance is a choice. It is a lens, a perspective, a way of living. It is the courage to say, I will not live by fear. I will not live by scarcity. I will not live by the lies of the past. I will create. I will grow. I will rise. Because once your mind is set on abundance, wealth becomes inevitable. Not overnight, not by accident, but by design. You will begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You will begin to take risks where others take excuses. You will begin to persevere where others surrender. And one day, when you look back, you will realize the greatest treasure you ever discovered was not the money in your bank account, but the transformation of your mind. Because with that, no matter what you lose, you will always rebuild. And with that, no matter how high you rise, you will never fall. The system may try to enslave you. Circumstances may try to break you. Doubt may try to silence you. But when your mindset is aligned with abundance, nothing can stop you. Nothing. We have spoken about freedom. We have spoken about the traps of the system. We have spoken about value and about mindset. But now we arrive at the question that truly defines wealth. What will remain when you are gone? You see, money fades, cars rust, houses crumble, bank accounts are emptied, and possessions lose their shine. But legacy endures. Legacy is the ultimate currency, the wealth that cannot be stolen, the treasure that cannot be measured in numbers but in impact. When people speak your name years after you are gone, what will they say? Will they speak of what you owned or of who you were? Will they remember the car you drove or the lives you touched? Will they admire your possessions or will they live differently because of your influence? This is the truth. Wealth without legacy is emptiness. A life lived only for consumption dies with the body. A life lived for creation echoes for generations. Think of the great builders of history. Their names live on not because of the coins they counted, but because of the visions they left behind. The pyramids, the cathedrals, the discoveries, the writings, the movements, they built something that outlasted them. That is legacy. And here is where so many people go astray. They spend their lives chasing money for themselves, forgetting that one day time will strip them of it all. Death does not negotiate. You cannot take a single dollar beyond the grave, but you can send forward your wisdom, your influence, your example, your contribution. That is the inheritance of true wealth. Legacy is not built in grand gestures alone. It is built daily in small, consistent choices. It is the way you treat others. It is the lessons you teach your children. It is the habits you model for those who look up to you. It is the courage you demonstrate when others are afraid. Every act, every word, every decision is a deposit into the currency of legacy. And let us be clear, legacy is not only for the rich and powerful. Legacy belongs to anyone who chooses to live beyond themselves. A father who works tirelessly not just to pay bills, but to pass down values of honor and discipline, that is legacy. A mother who raises her children with love, teaching them to believe in themselves, that is legacy. A teacher who sees potential in a student that no one else noticed, that is legacy. But legacy requires vision. You cannot leave behind what you never built, and you cannot build what you never believed was possible. This is why most people die with regret. They lived for survival, never for legacy. They lived for themselves, never for others. And when the end came, they realized too late that nothing they accumulated could follow them. Ask yourself, if today were your last day, what would remain of you tomorrow? Would your life echo, or would it vanish? Would you be remembered for what you consumed, or for what you created? This is why wealth without purpose is dangerous, because money magnifies who you are. If you are selfish, money will amplify your selfishness. If you are generous, money will amplify your generosity. If you live for yourself, your wealth will die with you. If you live for legacy, your wealth will multiply long after you are gone. Think of a tree. Its fruit feeds for a season, but its seeds can grow forests. The man who eats the fruit today has nothing tomorrow, but the man who plants the seeds creates abundance for generations. Money is fruit, legacy is seed. Which are you focused on? The wealthy who endure across time are those who understood this. They used money as a tool to build schools, hospitals, movements, foundations. They left behind more than wealth. They left behind vision. And because of that, their names live on. But here is the mistake many make. They think legacy is only for the famous. They believe they must change the world in order to leave a legacy. The truth is simpler. You do not need to change the world. You do change someone's world. If even one life is better because you existed, you have built legacy. And yet, how many waste their days chasing possessions that will never be remembered? How many trade their integrity for temporary gain, forgetting that character is remembered long after riches are forgotten? How many bury their gifts afraid of judgment when those gifts could have been the torch for someone else's darkness? The ultimate wealth is to know that your life mattered, that your existence was not accidental, that because you walked this earth, something was better, someone was stronger, someone was freer. But legacy does not happen by chance. It must be intentional. You must ask yourself each day, what am I building that will outlast me? Am I living only for my comfort, or am I planting seeds for tomorrow? Am I consuming, or am I creating? The hidden truth about wealth is this: your possessions will one day belong to someone else, but your legacy will forever belong to you. And the greatest inheritance you can leave is not money, but wisdom. Because money without wisdom is wasted, but wisdom without money can still create abundance. Imagine the difference. A child inherits wealth but no principles. He squanders it in years. Another inherits principles but little wealth. He multiplies it into fortune. Legacy is not measured in what you give, but in what you instill. And so, wealth reaches its highest form when it becomes legacy, when it ceases to be about you and becomes about those who come after you, when your success is not just your own, but a foundation for others to stand on. This is why legacy is the ultimate currency, because money dies, but impact lives, because possessions fade, but influence endures, because life is short, but legacy is eternal. So the question is not how much wealth you will accumulate. The question is, what legacy will you leave? Wealth whispers its secrets not in the noise of markets or the glitter of possessions, but in the quiet discipline of daily habits. The sixth hidden truth is this: consistency is more powerful than intensity. True wealth is not built by one grand decision, but by 1,000 small, repeated actions that compound over time. The world glorifies the dramatic, the overnight success story, the lottery winner, the sudden rise to fortune, but the truth is far less glamorous and far more attainable. Wealth is not an explosion, it is a slow burn. It is the steady flame of persistence fueled by daily choices that seem insignificant in the moment, but monumental over a lifetime. Imagine a man who saves $1 every day, just $1. At first, it seems laughable. What difference can such a small act make? Yet over years, that dollar grows. Interest compounds. Habits solidify. That single decision, repeated with discipline, creates a foundation far greater than a sudden windfall squandered in carelessness. This is the great deception. People overestimate what they can achieve in a day, but underestimate what they can achieve in a decade. They want results now. They want wealth tomorrow. They want transformation overnight. But the universe honors patience. The universe rewards consistency. The seed does not sprout the day it is planted. The tree does not bear fruit in its first season. Yet those who keep watering, who keep tending, who keep nurturing, those are the ones who harvest abundance. Look closely at those who are truly wealthy, not just rich in possessions, but in freedom, in influence, in legacy. You will not find sudden miracles. You will find years of unseen discipline. You will find mornings spent in study while others slept. You will find investments made while others consumed. You will find habits forged while others wasted. Success is never accidental. It is compounded intention. But here is where most fail. They despise small beginnings. They want the final chapter without writing the pages. They abandon the gym after a week, the business after a month, the discipline after the first setback. They confuse lack of instant results with lack of progress, and so they quit, never realizing how close they were to breakthrough. Consistency is the great equalizer. You do not need to be the smartest, the strongest, or the most gifted. You need only to be consistent. The genius who works sporadically will be outperformed by the average man who shows up every day. The athlete who trains once in a burst of energy will be defeated by the one who trains steadily, even at a smaller pace. Wealth is the same. It is not the one who makes the largest move, but the one who makes the steady move. Think of the river. It does not carve canyons by force of a single wave. It carves them by persistence, drop by drop, flow by flow, year by year. Power lies not in what is done once, but in what is done always. And this is the hidden truth. Small disciplines create great destinies. Consistency requires faith, because in the beginning results are invisible. You invest, but you see no return. You plant, but you see no harvest. You practice, but you see no mastery. And so the impatient give up, but the faithful persist. They understand that every day they continue, the roots grow deeper, the foundation grows stronger, and the momentum builds unseen. Wealth is not built in the marketplace alone. It is built in the mind, in the morning routines, in the quiet choices no one applauds. It is built when you resist the impulse to consume, when you choose discipline over comfort, when you invest in growth instead of indulging in distraction. These choices repeated daily create an unshakable trajectory. The trap of intensity is seductive. It tells you to change everything at once, to work harder than everyone else for a short burst of time. And yes, intensity has its place. Intensity can ignite the fire, but consistency keeps it burning. Without consistency, intensity dies into ashes. The man who works furiously for a week and then collapses into laziness has accomplished nothing. The man who moves steadily each day, even at a modest pace, surpasses him. The true masters of wealth and life have learned this art. They are consistent not because they feel like it, but because they understand that feelings are fleeting. Discipline is stronger than emotion. The successful do not ask, "Do I want to today?" They decide, "I will today." And in that decision, repeated again and again, wealth is born. Consider the compound effect. A single % of improvement each day may seem small, even meaningless. But 1% compounded over a year transforms into 37 times the original strength. That is the power of consistency. It multiplies the ordinary into the extraordinary. But consistency is not only about habits of money or work. It is also about character. To consistently speak truth, to consistently honor commitments, to consistently show kindness. These are the investments of the soul, the wealth of the spirit. And like financial wealth, they compound. The trust you earn today builds influence tomorrow. The respect you gain through consistency becomes a legacy that endures. Do not be deceived. Inconsistency is poverty. The man who starts many things but finishes none lives in perpetual lack. The one who changes direction at every challenge never arrives anywhere. Inconsistency wastes energy, time, and opportunity. But consistency gathers them, multiplies them, and channels them toward destiny. The greatest danger to consistency is distraction. We live in a world addicted to novelty. The new opportunity, the new scheme, the new temptation, it calls constantly. But wealth is never built by chasing every glittering object. Wealth is built by focus, by staying the course, by refusing to abandon the path for every passing distraction. The wealthy understand this. They do not scatter their energy. They compound it. They do not start over endlessly. They endure. And because they endure, they reap what others never see. So the question is not, can you start? Anyone can start. The question is, can you continue? Can you stay when results are slow? Can you persist when others quit? Can you keep showing up when the applause is faded? Because if you can, you will discover the secret the world hides. Consistency creates miracles. And so, the sixth hidden truth about wealth is this. You do not need to do everything today. You need only to do the right things every day. Wealth is not built in bursts, but in rhythms. Not in noise, but in repetition. Not in intensity, but in consistency. There is a truth about wealth that many fear to face. Not everyone will understand your journey. The seventh hidden truth is this. Wealth demands separation. To rise above, you must often walk alone. The path to abundance is narrow. Few walk it because it is uncomfortable. Most people choose the road of ease, the road of conformity, the road that requires no sacrifice. But wealth, in all its forms, financial, spiritual, generational, cannot be attained by following the crowd. It requires stepping away, standing apart, and enduring the loneliness of the uncommon path. Look around and you will see it. The crowd spends every dollar it earns. The crowd ridicules discipline. The crowd mocks ambition. The crowd drowns itself in distraction while dreaming of freedom it will never achieve. And if you try to break away, the crowd will resist. They will laugh at you. They will call you arrogant, unrealistic, even foolish. They will demand that you return to comfort, to mediocrity, to sameness. But here is the secret. The crowd is not your compass. If you follow them, you will end where they end, broke, bitter, and bound. To live differently, you must dare to think differently. To build wealth, you must embrace the solitude of a higher vision. This separation is not easy. It costs relationships, approval, sometimes even peace. You will find yourself misunderstood, isolated, judged. You will question yourself, wonder if you are wrong, if perhaps the crowd was right all along. But remember, every great builder, every visionary, every master of wealth has walked this same path of separation. The farmer who sows when others sleep looks foolish until harvest comes. The student who studies while others party looks dull until success crowns his effort. The entrepreneur who sacrifices weekends and holidays appears obsessed until freedom becomes his reality. Separation looks like loss in the moment, but it is the seed of victory in the future. Most people cannot handle this discomfort, and so they trade destiny for acceptance. They silence their ambition so they can belong. They bury their gifts so they will not be mocked. They choose the approval of the crowd over the call of greatness. And in doing so, they kill their wealth before it is ever born. Understand this. Wealth is not only numbers, it is also environment. If you surround yourself with mediocrity, you will breathe it in until it poisons you. If you dwell in the noise of complaint and laziness, it will infect your spirit. But if you surround yourself with visionaries, with dreamers, with the disciplined, their fire will ignite your own. Separation is not isolation. It is elevation. It is choosing your company with intention. And yes, this means you will lose some people. Friends who cannot understand your drive, family who mock your persistence, colleagues who resent your hunger. But let them go. Wealth requires pruning. Just as a gardener cuts away branches so the tree can grow stronger, you must release what no longer aligns with your future. Loneliness is temporary. Wealth, once built, attracts its own community. You will find others who walk the same path. You will discover allies who understand sacrifice, who share the language of discipline, who breathe the same air of vision, but they are not found in the crowd. They are found on the narrow road. There is another truth hidden in separation: clarity. When you step away from the noise, you begin to hear yourself. You begin to hear the whisper of your calling, the pull of your purpose, the vision of your future. The crowd drowns it out with constant chatter, but solitude amplifies it. And in that clarity, direction is born. Think of the eagle. It does not fly with the sparrows. It does not flock with the pigeons. It soars alone, high above, carried by winds the smaller birds cannot reach. That is the life of those who pursue wealth. They cannot remain where they were. They must rise, and in rising they must separate. But this separation must be understood not as rejection of others, but as devotion to destiny. You are not abandoning people. You are advancing purpose. You are not rejecting relationships. You are refining them. And in time, those who doubted will see. Those who mocked will marvel. Those who resisted will recognize that the separation was not arrogance. It was obedience to vision. Yet beware the subtle temptation to return. Many who begin the journey falter because the loneliness weighs heavy. They long for the comfort of old friends, the ease of old habits, the familiarity of old routines. And so they step back into the crowd. They give up the narrow path for the broad road. But what they do not realize is that the cost of belonging is bondage. They gain company, but they lose destiny. Wealth is not cheap. It requires the courage to walk alone. But those who endure discover the paradox: what once felt like loss becomes gain. What once felt like loneliness becomes strength. What once felt like sacrifice becomes freedom. The seventh hidden truth is this: wealth demands separation because greatness cannot be birthed in comfort. Diamonds are not formed in softness, but in pressure. Gold is not refined in coolness, but in fire. And the soul that would build true wealth must pass through the furnace of isolation. And when you do, when you choose separation over sameness, you will awaken to a new reality. You will see the world differently. You will no longer crave applause, for you will have tasted purpose. You will no longer seek acceptance, for you will have found direction. You will no longer need the crowd, for you will have become the leader. There is a law woven into the fabric of life that few ever recognize. Wealth flows toward responsibility. The eighth hidden truth is this: prosperity is entrusted, not stumbled upon. Those who prove they can be faithful with little are given more. Those who waste what is placed in their hands are stripped of it. Wealth is not only earned, it is assigned, delegated by life itself to those who demonstrate stewardship. We live in a generation that craves reward without responsibility. People want the paycheck without the work, the promotion without the discipline, the riches without the responsibility that riches demand. But the universe does not bend to entitlement. It honors those who carry weight, who embrace accountability, who do not run from responsibility but rise to it. If you cannot manage $1, why should you be trusted with 10? If you cannot honor a small opportunity, why should life entrust you with greater ones? If you cannot discipline yourself with little time, why would you deserve freedom with endless time? Wealth is a test, and responsibility is the measure. Look at the lives of those who remain wealthy across decades, across generations. You will find responsibility at the center. They do not squander blindly. They plan, they allocate, they account, they understand that every possession, every opportunity, every resource is both a gift and a test. And here lies the hidden truth. Poverty is often not the absence of opportunity, but the absence of responsibility. Many have been given chances, yet they squandered them through carelessness. Many received money, yet spent it recklessly. Many were trusted with influence, yet abused it for vanity. Responsibility neglected leads to opportunity lost. Responsibility is not glamorous. It demands sacrifice. It requires saying no when the world says yes. It calls you to manage what is unseen long before you are rewarded with what is visible. The world celebrates spending, but responsibility celebrates saving. The world applauds indulgence, but responsibility honors restraint. The world craves shortcuts, but responsibility embraces process. The immature despise responsibility. They see it as burden, as chains, as limitation. But the mature understand it is responsibility that gives power. A soldier entrusted with command carries the weight of men's lives, but with it comes honor, respect, and authority. A leader entrusted with decision bears the responsibility of outcomes, but with it comes influence and legacy. Wealth follows the same law. The one who embraces responsibility will one day hold resources others only dream of. Ask yourself, how do you treat what you already have? Are you careless with your time? Do you waste your energy on distractions? Do you neglect your health while dreaming of longevity? Do you treat a small paycheck with disdain while hoping for riches? These are tests, and life is always watching. Those who despise the day of small responsibilities will never see the day of great responsibilities. But those who treat the little with respect prove they are ready for more. This is why the wealthy seem to keep getting wealthier. It is not always conspiracy or unfairness. It is stewardship. They have shown they can be trusted with more, and so more flows toward them. Responsibility also means ownership. Not blaming others for failure. Not shifting the weight of your choices onto society, onto family, onto circumstance. The responsible man says, it begins and ends with me. And in that ownership lies freedom, because if you caused it, you can change it. If your choices built your present, then your choices can build your future. Your responsibility is the death of wealth. It is the gambler's curse, the spender's trap, the procrastinator's downfall. Irresponsibility waits for rescue, but no rescue comes. Responsibility creates solutions, while irresponsibility creates excuses. The two paths lead to two destinies, abundance or lack, freedom or bondage. Do not be deceived. Responsibility is not only financial, it is also moral, relational, spiritual. If you betray trust in one area, you will betray it in another. If you are careless in small disciplines, you will be careless with great opportunities. Wealth is holistic. It rests not just in the bank, but in the character of the one holding it. Without character, money destroys. With character, money multiplies. Responsibility requires vision. To carry weight, you must see beyond the moment. The irresponsible think only of today, what feels good, what pleases, what comforts. The responsible think of tomorrow, what endures, what builds, what multiplies. This is why responsibility is heavy. It forces you to see beyond yourself, beyond the now, beyond the immediate, but it is this very weight that separates the wealthy from the wandering. Responsibility is also generational. To the irresponsible, life is only about consumption. What can I take? What can I use? What can I enjoy before I am gone? To the responsible, life is about contribution. What can I build? What can I pass down? What can I leave behind? The irresponsible die with nothing but memories. The responsible die having planted seeds that will feed generations. But let us be clear, responsibility is not perfection. It does not mean never failing. It means owning failure, learning from it, growing through it. The irresponsible fail and blame. The responsible fail and rise. The difference is not in the fall, but in the response. So wealth, true wealth, is not stumbled upon. It is attracted, entrusted, drawn toward the one who proves faithful. If you would build wealth, start here, not with schemes, not with shortcuts, not with sudden bursts of ambition. Start with responsibility. Own your time. Own your choices. Own your resources. Own your future. Because the eighth hidden truth is unshakable. Wealth flows toward responsibility, and those who carry weight with faithfulness will always rise higher than those who run from it. There is a hidden truth about wealth that almost no one is willing to accept. Risk is not the enemy. It is the gatekeeper. The ninth secret is this: every path to wealth requires courage, not recklessness, not blind gambling, but the boldness to step where others refuse, to act when fear tells you to wait, to build when the world whispers that it cannot be done. Fear has kept more people poor than failure ever has. Most are not defeated by external forces. They are imprisoned by internal hesitation. They dream, but they do not act. They imagine, but they do not build. They see opportunity, but they wait for guarantees. And in waiting, the moment passes, the door closes, and they remain chained to the safety of mediocrity. But here is the paradox. Safety is the greatest risk of all. The one who clings to comfort loses it. The one who buries his talent in the ground, fearing loss, discovers in the end he has lost everything. Life rewards the bold, not the timid. Wealth belongs to those who are willing to walk into uncertainty, to bear the weight of risk, to trust that their vision is greater than their fear. Consider the stories of those who built empires, movements, legacies. None of them waited for perfect timing. None of them had guarantees. They began with trembling hands, with voices of doubt around them, with uncertainty clouding their path. Yet they moved, they acted, they risked, and in the risk they discovered abundance. But understand this: courage is not recklessness. The reckless jump without thought, gamble without wisdom, and confuse chaos with bravery. They are destroyed not by courage, but by folly. True courage is measured, intentional, rooted in vision. It does not deny the danger. It acknowledges it, weighs it, and steps forward anyway. The difference between the wealthy and the crowd is not that the wealthy feel no fear. It is that they act despite fear. They understand that fear is not a stop sign. It is a signal that growth lies ahead. Where fear appears, opportunity hides. Where trembling arises, destiny waits. Most will never experience this because they confuse survival with success. They cling to the paycheck, to the routine, to the known, even though it suffocates them. They fear loss more than they desire freedom. And so they choose a slow death over the risk of living fully. But ask yourself, what is the greater tragedy? To risk and fail, or to never risk and remain forever chained? The one who risks and fails gains wisdom, resilience, strength. The one who never risks gains nothing. Failure is tuition, not a tombstone. It is the price of admission into the arena where wealth is built. The wealthy embrace this. They understand that every great reward is purchased with risk. The investor risks capital. The entrepreneur risks stability. The artist risks rejection. The leader risks criticism. Without risk, there is no progress. Without courage, there is no wealth. This is why the crowd envies the wealthy but will not imitate them. They want the reward without the risk, the harvest without the sowing, the freedom without the courage. But life does not work that way. The door to wealth is locked, and the key is courage. Think of the sailor. He cannot reach new lands by staying in the harbor. The ocean is uncertain, filled with storms and unknown horizons. Yet only the sailor who dares to leave the shore discovers new worlds. The shore feels safe, but safety breeds stagnation. The sea feels dangerous, but danger carries destiny. This is the same with wealth. The safe job, the safe investment, the safe routine, they seem secure, but they guarantee nothing but mediocrity. The bold idea, the brave step, the courageous venture, they seem risky, but they carry the possibility of transformation. Fear will always whisper, "What if you fail?" Courage replies, "What if I succeed?" Fear says, "Stay where you are." Courage says, "There is more beyond this." Fear demands certainty. Courage embraces faith. The truth is, You will fail at times. You will stumble, lose, miscalculate. But these moments are not the end. They are the forge. They refine you, harden you, shape you. Each failure is not a wall, but a chisel carving you into the person who can bear greater wealth. The coward avoids this pain and remains weak. The courageous endure it and become strong. Courage is also contagious. When you act boldly, you give permission for others to do the same. When you take risks, you create pathways for those who follow. Wealth is not only measured in what you gain, but in the courage you inspire in others. The legacy of the bold is not only riches, but freedom multiplied in the hearts of those they touched. But the greatest risk is not financial, not professional, not even personal. The greatest risk is spiritual, to live without answering your calling, to die without ever having used the gifts you were given, to leave this earth having existed safely, but never having lived fully. That is the ultimate poverty. So courage is not optional. It is essential. Wealth is never given to the timid because they cannot hold it. Wealth demands boldness because it is heavy, because it is dangerous, because it transforms. Only those with courage can bear its weight. The ninth hidden truth is this: wealth belongs to the brave, not to the reckless, not to the timid, but to those who feel fear and step forward anyway, to those who risk, who act, who dare. For in daring they discover abundance. There is another truth about wealth that hides in plain sight, yet few are willing to admit it. Wealth is not merely built with effort, it is built with focus. The 10th secret is this: concentration is the multiplier of everything you do. Without it, energy is wasted, time is scattered, and potential dissolves into nothing. But with it, a single hour is worth more than a lifetime of distraction. We live in an age where the greatest theft is not money, not property, not even opportunity. It is attention. Your attention is stolen by endless noise, blinking screens, trivial demands, and the opinions of others. The world profits from your distraction. Companies grow rich while you grow weaker. Every scroll, every click, every idle glance feeds them and robs you. And so the first step toward wealth is not merely to work harder, it is to reclaim your attention. The wealthy understand this instinctively. They guard their focus with the same ferocity a warrior guards his weapon. They know that every interruption is a tax, every distraction a thief. They know that the power of their mind, when concentrated, is like the beam of the sun focused through a lens. It can set fire to anything. But spread thin, that same sun warms nothing. Focus is not simply the ability to look at one thing. It is the discipline to ignore 1,000 others. To say yes to your calling, you must say no to countless voices. To build your vision, you must turn your back on the trivial. To become wealthy, you must abandon the distractions that keep the poor entertained. Most people fail not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack focus. They begin many things, finish nothing. They chase every idea, pursue every whim, but never master one. Their energy is scattered like seeds thrown on stone. There is no harvest. But those who concentrate, who choose one vision, one goal, one mission, become unstoppable. They pour their entire being into the work before them. Their effort compounds, their momentum builds, and what seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Focus turns small streams of effort into rivers of power. Think of the archer. If he does not aim, the arrow is useless. Think of the sculptor. If he does not strike the same stone, he creates nothing. Think of the writer. If he does not write every day, the book remains unborn. Wealth is no different. Without focus, your efforts scatter. With focus, they converge. And here is the hidden truth. The world will fight to steal your focus. Distractions are not accidental. They are designed. Entire industries exist to keep you occupied, scrolling, consuming, reacting. They do not want you building, creating, investing. They want you passive, addicted, entertained, because the distracted do not become wealthy. They become customers. That is why reclaiming focus is an act of rebellion. It is saying no to the noise and yes to your destiny. It is turning away from the endless chatter of the world and tuning your ears to the sound of your own purpose. It is silencing the voices that demand your attention so you can hear the whisper of your calling. Focus is not easy. It requires discipline, sacrifice, and clarity. It means working when others are resting, studying when others are partying, building when others are wasting time. It means saying no to things that feel good now so you can say yes to things that will last forever. It means choosing depth over width, mastery over mediocrity. But this is why the focused rise and the distracted remain. The wealthy live in the same world, surrounded by the same temptations, the same distractions, the same noise. The difference is that they resist it. They carve out silence. They build walls around their attention. They treat focus as their most valuable possession because it is. The distracted cry out, "I don't have time." The focused reply, "I make time." The distracted complain, "I can't concentrate." The focused build habits that sharpen their mind like a blade. The distracted drift through life, blown by every wind. The focused steer their ship toward a chosen horizon, no matter the storm. Focus is not just about tasks, it is about identity. Who are you becoming through the things you give your attention to? Every choice shapes you. Every distraction dilutes you. Every focus defines you. Wealth is not merely the accumulation of resources, it is the alignment of self. When your thoughts, your words, your actions, and your vision are all directed toward one goal, you become unstoppable. There is a story told of two men given equal land. One plants his seeds in a straight line, row upon row, watering them daily, focusing on his harvest. The other throws seeds everywhere, on rocks, on thorns, on shallow soil. Both worked, both planted. But only one harvested. The difference was not effort, it was focus. This is the tragedy of so many lives. They work hard, yet gain little, because their energy is scattered. They labor without alignment, toil without concentration. They mistake busyness for progress, but busyness without focus is only exhaustion. Progress belongs to those who aim. And this is why the wealthy grow richer. Their focus multiplies their effort. They concentrate not only their time, but also their money, their networks, their energy. While others scatter, they consolidate. While others chase everything, they choose carefully. And because they pour deeply into few things, those few things yield abundantly. Focus also demands patience. The world worships speed, but wealth rewards endurance. The distracted chase quick wins, jumping from one scheme to another. The focused build slowly, brick by brick, until the foundation is unshakable. They understand that true wealth is not built in haste, but in compounding effort. And yet, the beauty of focus is this: once mastered, it accelerates everything. The first years feel slow, difficult, grinding, but as focus compounds, momentum explodes. What once took years can be achieved in months. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. The secret, then, is to endure the early stages of focus, when results seem small, when distractions feel tempting, when the world mocks your discipline. If you persist, the harvest will come. If you stay focused, the abundance will multiply. But remember this: focus is not only external. It is not only about turning off devices, silencing notifications, and carving out time. It is also internal. It is about silencing the inner noise, the doubts, the fears, the insecurities that scatter your energy. It is about aligning your inner world with your outer action. For the greatest distraction is not outside, it is within. The wealthy know this. They discipline their minds as much as their schedules. They train their thoughts to dwell on vision, not fear on goals, not gossip, on purpose, not comparison. They know that a distracted mind cannot build a focused life. The 10th hidden truth is this: wealth belongs to those who master their focus. The distracted will forever chase shadows. The focused will forever shape reality. The distracted will consume. The focused will create. The distracted will consume. The focused will create. The distracted will remain bound. The focused will live free. Focus is wealth. Attention is power. Concentration is destiny. There is a hidden truth about wealth that the world rarely admits, because it dismantles the illusions that most people cling to. Wealth is not simply about what you gain. It is about what you become. The 11th secret is this: wealth is the reflection of identity. Before you can possess abundance, you must become the kind of person who can carry it. Wealth is not money in the bank, nor gold in the vault, nor properties counted on paper. Wealth begins within. It is an inner state that precedes outer manifestation. Money does not make you wealthy. It only amplifies who you already are. If you are disciplined, it magnifies your discipline. If you are careless, it magnifies your carelessness. If you are generous, it multiplies your generosity. If you are selfish, it multiplies your selfishness. Wealth does not change you, it reveals you. This is why so many rise quickly and fall faster. They inherit fortunes, but not character. They win money, but not mastery. They gain abundance, but remain impoverished inside. And so the weight of wealth crushes them because they were never shaped to bear it. Wealth demands maturity, responsibility, and vision. Without these, abundance becomes a curse. But those who become wealthy within, who cultivate discipline, gratitude, patience, and vision, find that outer wealth comes as a natural extension. It is not forced, not chased, not begged for. It is attracted. It flows to the person who has already become aligned with it. The poor focus only on having. The wealthy focus on becoming. The poor ask, how can I get more money? The wealthy ask, how can I become the kind of person who creates value? The poor demand results. The wealthy cultivate identity. And identity creates results. This is the hidden truth no one tells you. Money is never the goal. Money is the shadow of who you become. If you chase the shadow, you gain nothing. If you stand in the light of growth, the shadow follows. Consider the farmer. If he obsesses over harvest while neglecting the soil, the crops wither. But if he nurtures the ground, waters the seed, and tends the field, the harvest comes naturally. So it is with wealth. The soil is identity. The harvest is abundance. Nurture the soil, and the harvest will come. Most people resist this because it demands work in the unseen places. They want the outward reward without the inward transformation. They want success without sacrifice, riches without responsibility, abundance without alignment. But the universe does not bend to such demands. Wealth does not come to those who grasp outwardly. It comes to those who grow inwardly. Identity is destiny. You will always rise or fall to the level of who you believe yourself to be. If you see yourself as a victim, you will live in lack. If you see yourself as a creator, you will generate abundance. If you see yourself as unworthy, you will sabotage every blessing that comes your way. If you see yourself as worthy, you will embrace opportunities that others overlook. The wealthy guard their identity fiercely. They refuse to call themselves poor even in lean times. They refuse to label themselves defeated even in failure. They hold the vision of who they are becoming even when circumstances contradict it. For they know that identity shapes reality. This is why the same sum of money can ruin one person and enrich another. It is not the amount that matters, it is the identity that carries it. Place wealth in the hands of the unprepared, and it becomes destruction. Place it in the hands of the mature, and it becomes transformation. You must therefore ask yourself, not how much money do I want, but who must I become to create and sustain it? This is the question the wealthy live by. They know that every level of wealth demands a new level of identity. To rise financially, you must rise personally. The person who can manage 100 cannot automatically manage 1,000. The one who leads 10 cannot instantly lead 100. Each level requires growth, expansion, transformation. The wealthy embrace this process. They are willing to shed old identities, to break free from limiting beliefs, to reinvent themselves again and again. Identity is not static, it is shaped daily. Every choice is a brushstroke. Every action is a chisel. Every thought is a seed. The life you live tomorrow is painted by the identity you build today. If you wish to be wealthy, you must begin now, not with money, but with becoming. This becoming requires discipline. Discipline to train your mind, to master your habits, to govern your emotions, for wealth demands self-mastery. The undisciplined may win for a moment, but they will always lose in the end. The disciplined may struggle at first, but they will always rise. It also requires vision. Without vision, wealth is directionless. Money becomes vanity. Possessions become chains. Abundance becomes emptiness. Vision gives wealth purpose. Vision transforms money into meaning. Without vision, the wealthy are hollow. With vision, even modest means can become abundance. But above all, becoming requires alignment. The wealthy are not divided within themselves. Their words, their actions, their beliefs, and their goals point in one direction. They live with congruence. And this congruence draws wealth, for the universe responds to clarity. The divided repel abundance, but the aligned attract it. This is the reason many never rise. They live in contradiction. They say they want wealth, but believe they are unworthy. They dream of success, but sabotage every opportunity. They desire freedom, but cling to habits that enslave them. They are at war within, and this war keeps them poor. But those who align, who reconcile thought, word, and deed, move with power. They walk in integrity, and integrity is magnetic. They radiate confidence, and confidence attracts trust. They embody abundance, and abundance flows to them. The 11th hidden truth is this: wealth is not pursued, it is embodied. It is not first external, but internal. It is not about what you have, but who you are. If you become wealth, you will attract wealth. If you embody abundance, you will live in abundance. So the journey is not only financial, it is personal, spiritual, transformational. It is the journey of becoming. Every struggle, every discipline, every sacrifice is not simply about money. It is about shaping yourself into the person who can carry it without being crushed by it. Wealth is heavy. It requires strong shoulders, steady hands, and a clear heart. Only those who have become such people can bear it. And when they do, the wealth they hold is not merely for themselves. It becomes a river that nourishes many. The poor ask for wealth. The wealthy become wealth. And the becoming is the true treasure. There is a truth about wealth that the world seldom whispers because it dismantles illusions of luck and chance. Wealth is not random. It is built through systems. The 12th secret is this: wealth is the child of structure, not chaos. It grows where order is planted, where routines are disciplined, where systems are constructed to multiply effort beyond what one person can do. Most people live without systems. They wake when they feel like it, work when they must, spend when they desire, and hope that someday, somehow, fortune will smile upon them. Their days are scattered, their money is scattered, their energy is scattered, and as a result, their lives are scattered. They confuse movement with progress, and activity with achievement. But activity without system is noise. System turns noise into music. The wealthy know this. They do not rely on chance. They build systems that work even when they sleep. They put their money in places where it multiplies without their constant attention. They build businesses that function without their daily presence. They design routines that protect their time, conserve their energy, and direct their focus toward what matters most. To them, wealth is not only about what they do, it is about what continues to work when they are not doing it. A person without systems is like a farmer who scatters seed across the wind. Some may land, but most will be lost. A person with systems is like the farmer who plants in rows, waters with care, harvests with precision. One lives in chaos, the other lives in rhythm. One hopes for luck, the other builds certainty. But here lies the great deception of the world. Most resist systems because they appear rigid, dull, restrictive. They say, I want freedom, not structure. But they do not realize that without structure, there is no freedom. A life without system is slavery to impulse, slavery to distraction, slavery to exhaustion. True freedom comes when systems carry the weight you cannot bear alone. Consider time. The poor spend time casually, as if it were infinite. They wake late, wander through their days, fill the hours with diversions, and then complain of scarcity. The wealthy systematize their time. They carve out hours for thinking, hours for creating, hours for rest. They know exactly when to work, when to stop, when to move, when to be still. They master time because they give it order. Consider money. The poor see money only as something to spend. It comes and it goes. No plan, no allocation, no system. The wealthy give every dollar a role. They build budgets, investments, protections, flows. They know where their money goes before it arrives. Their wealth grows not by accident, but by architecture. Consider energy. The poor burn it wastefully. They eat without discipline, sleep without pattern, live without care. They wake tired, work tired, die tired. The wealthy build systems of health. They eat intentionally, exercise consistently, rest strategically. Their bodies become engines, not anchors, because they have ordered them. This is the 12th secret. Wealth is not only about working harder, it is about building systems that make hard work unnecessary. Systems are leverage. They multiply effort, extend reach, and create momentum. A person who works alone can achieve little. A person with systems can achieve endlessly. But here is the paradox. Building systems requires effort at the start, discipline, planning, sacrifice. This is why few embrace them. They want immediate pleasure, not long-term order. They prefer comfort now to freedom later, and so they remain bound. The wealthy endure the discomfort of building systems, knowing that once built, those systems will carry them forward with ease. Think of the river. Left to itself, it spreads wide, shallow, directionless. But when channeled, it becomes powerful, unstoppable, able to turn wheels, to generate light, to move mountains. So it is with human effort. Without system, it spreads thin. With system, it becomes power. The wealthy design their lives like architects. They do not stumble into success. They construct it. They lay foundations of routine, pillars of habit, walls of discipline, ceilings of vision. Their life is not random. It is structured. And within that structure, freedom flourishes. But the poor despise structure. They mistake freedom for formlessness. They think liberty is doing whatever they please whenever they please. And so they waste days, years, decades. In the end, their freedom becomes bondage, because a life without order collapses into ruin. Wealth requires systems because wealth multiplies. And anything that multiplies without system destroys itself. Money without structure becomes chaos. Time without structure becomes waste. Opportunity without structure becomes overwhelm. Systems are the containers that hold abundance without letting it spill. This is why some win the lottery and lose it all. They had money but no system. They had abundance but no structure. And so the wealth leaked through the cracks of undisciplined living. Wealth without system is like water without a vessel. It vanishes. The wealthy understand this. They do not seek only gain, they seek order. They know that the greater the wealth, the greater the system required to sustain it. A man who cannot manage a single stream cannot hold a river. A person who cannot govern a small garden cannot rule a forest. System is the preparation for more. And yet, systems are not only external, they are internal. The wealthiest systems are those written in the mind and heart, systems of thought, choosing gratitude over complaint, vision over fear, patience over haste, systems of discipline, rising early, practicing daily, committing fully, systems of belief, refusing to see limits, insisting on possibility, anchoring identity in abundance. The wealth you build outside is only as strong as the systems you build inside. For the world will always pull at you, distract you, attempt to scatter you. Only systems within can keep you aligned, ordered, focused. The 12th hidden truth is this. Chaos devours wealth. Order sustains it. Without systems, abundance is wasted. With systems, even little grows into much. Wealth is not the reward of chance. It is the fruit of structure. So ask yourself, not how can I gain more, but what systems can I build so that what I gain is preserved, multiplied, and sustained. The poor chase money and lose it. The wealthy build systems and money chases them. Wealth belongs not to those who hope, but to those who order. Not to those who drift, but to those who design. Not to those who scatter, but to those who systematize. For systems are the skeleton of abundance, the invisible frame that holds freedom upright. There is a hidden truth about wealth that few dare to acknowledge because it demands something deeper than numbers and strategies. Wealth is a matter of relationships. The 13th secret is this. Wealth flows through people, not through isolation, not through solitary striving, but through connection, trust, and the building of bonds that multiply opportunity beyond imagination. Money moves where trust exists. Opportunity travels where relationships open doors. Wealth is never built in a vacuum. It is built in networks, in partnerships, in communities. Every fortune has behind it a web of people, mentors who guided, partners who collaborated, customers who supported, allies who believed. No one rises alone. No one becomes wealthy without connection. Yet this is the mistake most people make. They pursue wealth as if it were a solitary conquest, a treasure to be claimed alone on some distant island. They work tirelessly, refusing to collaborate, fearing to trust, clutching every resource with tight fists, and so they remain limited by their own strength, their own knowledge, their own reach. But one person's reach is short. One person's mind is small. One person's energy is finite. Wealth requires more. The wealthy understand this. They know that relationships are the true currency, and trust is the true treasure. They do not hoard connections. They cultivate them. They do not treat people as transactions. They honor them as investments. They build bridges, not walls. They create communities, not empires of isolation. And because of this, doors open to them that remain forever closed to others. The poor think of relationships only in terms of gain. What can this person do for me? The wealthy think of relationships in terms of value. How can I serve, contribute, and strengthen this bond? And because of this, while the poor exhaust their contacts, the wealthy multiply theirs. Wealth flows through people because people carry information. One conversation can reveal an opportunity that years of toil would never uncover. One introduction can unlock a network that transforms your future. One partnership can multiply your reach 1,000-fold. The isolated never discover this because they have locked themselves away in the prison of pride. Relationships also carry reputation. Wealth travels fastest toward those who are trusted. A name spoken with respect is worth more than gold. The wealthy guard their reputation fiercely because they know it precedes them. They know that in circles of influence, the most valuable currency is not money but credibility. But here lies the paradox. The relationships that generate wealth cannot be built with greed. People sense when they are being used, when they are being drained, when they are being seen only as stepping stones. Such relationships wither quickly. True wealth is born when relationships are built on authenticity, generosity, and genuine honor. When you invest in people without agenda, opportunities return without asking. Consider the tree. Its fruit is visible, but its roots are hidden. Those roots are its relationships, reaching deep, intertwining with the soil, drawing unseen nourishment. Without roots, the tree cannot stand. Without relationships, wealth cannot endure. The wealthy build roots before they seek fruit. They invest years in building networks, strengthening bonds, adding value. And when the storms come, and storms always come, their wealth endures because their roots are deep. The poor seek fruit without roots. They want the harvest without the hidden labor of nurturing bonds, and so their wealth, if it comes, withers quickly. This is why arrogance destroys wealth. Pride isolates. Pride refuses counsel, burns bridges, closes doors. But humility multiplies wealth because humility attracts allies, invites wisdom, and sustains trust. The wealthy understand this paradox. They walk with confidence, but also with humility, knowing that relationships are delicate and trust is sacred. There is also another dimension to this truth. The wealth of a life is measured not only in possessions, but in people. What use is money if you are alone? What joy is abundance if it is not shared? The poor believe that wealth is in the bank. The wise know that wealth is in the table surrounded by people you love, in the network of allies who stand with you, in the legacy you leave in the hearts of those you have touched. But let us not be naive. Relationships demand work. They require patience, honesty, forgiveness. They require the discipline to listen more than you speak, to serve more than you demand, to give more than you take. Many refuse this labor because it does not bring immediate gain, but those who endure in it reap harvests beyond imagination. Relationships are also tests. They reveal character. They expose selfishness, pride, weakness, and through this, they refine you. Wealth is not only what relationships give you, it is what relationships make of you. The person you become through serving, forgiving, honoring, and lifting others is far more valuable than any riches you may gain along the way. The 13th hidden truth is this. If you wish to build wealth, build people. If you wish to rise, lift others. If you wish to prosper, create prosperity for those around you. Wealth does not travel along the path of isolation. It travels along the bridges of relationship. The poor ask, who will help me? The wealthy ask, whom can I help? And in helping, they find help. In giving, they receive. In lifting others, they rise. So wealth is not the conquest of one, but the collaboration of many. Not the greed of a single heart, but the generosity of a network. Not the silence of isolation, but the music of connection. Those who understand this never lack for opportunity because they have invested in the true treasure relationships that endure. The secret is not money, it is people. The strength of your wealth is the strength of your relationships. And when the money fades, when the markets crash, when the world shifts, it is people who remain. And if you have invested in them, you will never be poor. There is a moment in every life when the path ahead is not illuminated by certainty, but by faith. The 14th hidden truth of wealth is this: wealth rewards the bold, the decisive, the ones who act in the face of uncertainty while others wait for permission. Most people do not fail because they lack intelligence or because they lack opportunity. They fail because they hesitate. They delay. They wait until the road is free of risk, until the outcome is guaranteed, until the storm has passed. But in waiting, they lose their chance, for the world never offers certainty, only windows of opportunity that close as quickly as they open. The poor demand guarantees. They ask, what if I lose? What if it doesn't work? What if I fail? And so they wait for the perfect moment, a moment that never comes. The wealthy ask, what if I succeed? What if it works? What if I risk? And it changes everything. And so they step into the unknown, and in that step, they seize opportunities that others miss. Wealth is built not by the timid, but by the bold. It is a reward for those who move when others freeze, who risk when others retreat, who act when others overthink. In every generation, it is the bold who redefine the world. The pioneers, the builders, the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, they did not wait for safety. They leapt. But here lies the paradox. Boldness is not recklessness. Recklessness is a gamble with no foundation, a leap without preparation, a risk without wisdom. Boldness is different. It is the marriage of vision and courage, the ability to act swiftly because you have prepared deeply. Boldness does not ignore risk. It calculates it. Boldness does not deny fear. It faces it. Boldness does not wait for certainty. It creates it through action. The wealthy cultivate this boldness. They study, they prepare, they gather knowledge, and then they act without waiting for all the lights to turn green. They know that action itself clarifies the path, that momentum itself reveals what hesitation cannot. The poor remain still, demanding clarity before movement. The wealthy move, and in moving they gain clarity.
Consider the ship at sea. The timid captain waits for perfect weather, for calm skies, for gentle waters, but perfect weather never comes, and so the ship rots in the harbor. The bold captain sets sail in the storm, adjusting the sails, learning the winds, mastering the waves, and though the journey is perilous, the destination is reached. Wealth is the destination of the bold.
Boldness is also magnetic. The world is drawn to those who move with courage. Investors trust them. Partners follow them. Customers believe them because boldness inspires confidence. Hesitation breeds doubt, but decisive action commands respect. And yet, boldness requires one thing above all, the willingness to fail publicly, to stumble openly, to risk the sting of rejection and ridicule. This is why most people remain timid. They fear not failure itself, but the judgment of others. They fear to look foolish. They fear to lose face. But the wealthy have learned this. Failure is temporary, but regret is eternal. The sting of mockery fades, but the shame of never trying lingers forever. So they choose boldness, even at the cost of failure, because every failure refines them, teaches them, strengthens them, and in the end, it is not the failures that define them, but the boldness that carried them through. Boldness is also a discipline. It is not a single leap, but a way of life. The wealthy practice daily boldness in decisions, in conversations, in opportunities. They speak when others stay silent. They ask when others hesitate. They risk rejection, knowing that each no brings them closer to a yes. And because of this, doors open to them that remain closed to the timid. There is a law written into the fabric of life. Fortune favors the bold. Wealth gravitates toward those who dare. Opportunities are revealed to those who step forward, not to those who shrink back. The poor live by the law of caution. The wealthy live by the law of boldness. But let us understand, boldness is not born from arrogance, but from conviction. It is not the shout of the reckless, but the quiet confidence of the prepared. The wealthy cultivate this confidence by building skills, by mastering knowledge, by preparing diligently. Their boldness is not empty. It is rooted in readiness. Still, no preparation can eliminate all uncertainty. At some point, the leap must be made. At some point, faith must carry where facts cannot. At some point, you must step out, knowing you may fall, but believing you may rise. That is boldness. That is the birthplace of wealth. Boldness is not only about seizing opportunities, it is about creating them. The wealthy do not wait for the perfect job, the perfect investment, the perfect chance. They create businesses where none exist. They design solutions where others see problems. They carve paths through forests of uncertainty. And because they create, they control. The timid are controlled by circumstance. The bold shape it. The timid complain about lack of opportunity. The bold manufacture it. The timid see closed doors. The bold build new ones. This is why boldness is the essence of leadership, and leadership is the essence of wealth. But boldness also requires persistence. One bold act is not enough. The journey to wealth demands repeated acts of courage, launching again after failure, investing again after loss, believing again after disappointment. Boldness must endure through seasons of rejection, drought, and darkness. Only then does it bear fruit. The poor imagine that boldness means instant success, a single leap into fortune. But the wealthy know that boldness is a lifestyle, 1,000 small risks, 1,000 small acts of courage compounded into greatness. And here is the greatest truth. Boldness liberates. The timid are prisoners of fear, forever waiting, forever hesitating, forever regretting. But the bold are free, free to fail, free to rise, free to live fully. And in that freedom, they discover wealth, not only in possessions, but in experience, in legacy, in the sheer fullness of life. So the 14th hidden truth is this: wealth belongs to the bold, to those who step forward when others step back, to those who risk when others retreat, to those who dare when others doubt. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for certainty. Do not wait for the world to approve. Step boldly. Act courageously. Move decisively. For the doors of wealth do not open to hesitation. They open to boldness. And when you choose boldness, you will discover this paradox. Though you feared risk, the greatest risk was never acting at all. Though you feared failure, the true failure was never trying. And though you feared loss, the true poverty was the poverty of hesitation. Be bold, for fortune waits not for the timid, but for those who dare. There is a truth about wealth that most never grasp until it is too late. Wealth is not built in isolation. The 15th hidden principle is this: wealth flows through relationships. Not superficial connections, not transactional interactions, but genuine networks of trust, influence, and shared vision. The poor often imagine wealth as the result of individual genius, a lone figure carving out fortune by sheer brilliance. But this is a myth. Even the greatest innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders did not walk alone. Behind every fortune lies a web of relationships, partners, mentors, allies, investors, supporters. Wealth is never a solo achievement. It is always the product of connection. Yet most people neglect this truth. They chase money but ignore people. They hoard knowledge but withhold collaboration. They guard their own progress but fail to lift others. And in the end, they discover that their isolation has cost them more than their ignorance. For money is a resource, but people are the channel through which resources flow. The wealthy understand this. They cultivate relationships intentionally. They know that every introduction, every conversation, every handshake carries the seed of future opportunity. They invest in people not because of what they can immediately extract, but because they know that wealth is a long-term harvest and every relationship is a seed planted in the soil of time. But there is a crucial distinction. Relationships built for wealth cannot be built on manipulation. The world can smell pretense. The wealthy build relationships rooted in authenticity, in genuine respect, in real value exchange. They give before they ask. They serve before they demand. They contribute before they collect. And because of this, they attract loyalty, trust, and goodwill, the currencies far more valuable than cash. The poor often say, "It's not what you know, it's who you know." But this is incomplete. The truth is, it is what you know combined with who you know and how you treat them. Knowledge without connection withers. Connection without value evaporates. Wealth emerges when knowledge and relationships merge in mutual growth. This is why the wealthy build networks deliberately. They surround themselves with thinkers, doers, creators, believers. They seek mentors wiser than themselves, peers as hungry as themselves, and students who will carry forward what they have built. They know that iron sharpens iron and wealth sharpens wealth. But most people squander their circle. They fill their lives with negativity, with voices of doubt, with companions of comfort. They surround themselves with those who mock ambition, who dismiss growth, who fear risk, and so they wonder why their lives remain stagnant, why their opportunities remain scarce. For relationships are mirrors. What surrounds you eventually shapes you. The wealthy curate their environment. They guard their circle with vigilance. They understand that one voice of discouragement can plant seeds of doubt that destroy destiny. They refuse to allow small-mindedness to poison their vision. Instead, they seek those who believe, those who dream, those who dare. And in that atmosphere, wealth multiplies. Relationships also test character. Money alone cannot hold people together. Trust does. Influence cannot sustain without integrity. The wealthy who last are those who treat people with respect, who honor commitments, who keep their word. Their reputation becomes their greatest asset, for reputation is the bridge that connects opportunity. But let us also speak truth. Relationships require risk. To trust is to open the possibility of betrayal. To collaborate is to open the possibility of disappointment. To connect is to open the possibility of rejection. Many avoid this risk, and so they remain alone. But the wealthy accept it, knowing that even though some relationships will wound, the right ones will heal tenfold. The reward outweighs the pain. Wealth is also multiplied through collaboration. Two minds create more than one. Two visions expand further than one. Two networks combine into opportunities that one could never reach alone. The myth of the lone genius blinds the poor, but the wealthy embrace the reality of partnership. They know that synergy is the true engine of abundance. Consider the builders of great enterprises. Behind every visionary was a team that carried the vision forward. Behind every innovator was a network that spread the idea. Behind every leader was a circle that magnified influence. Wealth is not the result of a single hand, but of many working in harmony. This is why generosity is woven into true wealth. The wealthy who endure are those who give, who mentor, who invest in others, because when you pour into people, you create cycles of loyalty and opportunity that return multiplied. The miser who hoards may gather temporarily, but his wealth shrivels, for no one trusts him. The generous who invests in others sees doors open that no money could have purchased. Relationships also expand perspective. Alone, one sees only through the lens of personal experience. In connection, one gains access to diverse insights, wisdom beyond their own, visions they could never create in isolation. Wealth grows not only in numbers, but in depth, as relationships expand the mind. But building these relationships requires intentionality. They are not accidents, they are cultivated. The wealthy attend gatherings not for entertainment, but for connection. They reach out, not to extract, but to contribute. They stay in touch, not because they need something, but because they value the bond. Over time, these small acts compound into trust, and trust becomes the foundation of fortune. The poor often neglect this, believing relationships are secondary, something to tend to when money is already achieved. But they miss the truth. Relationships are not the result of wealth, they are the foundation of it. Wealth does not build relationships. Relationships build wealth. The 15th hidden truth is this: your network is your wealth. The people you walk with determine the doors that open to you, the opportunities that arise before you, the ceilings you will break through. If you surround yourself with mediocrity, you will inherit mediocrity. If you surround yourself with vision, you will inherit vision. So ask yourself, who is in your circle? Who speaks into your life? Who shapes your thoughts, your choices, your habits? Are they lifting you higher or pulling you lower? Are they sharpening you or dulling you? Are they multiplying your vision or suffocating it? The wealthy choose carefully. They align themselves with those who ignite their spirit, who challenge their complacency, who call forth their greatness. And because of this, they rise higher than they ever could alone. Relationships are not optional. They are the veins through which wealth flows. To neglect them is to starve your destiny. To cultivate them is to unlock treasures beyond measure. This is the 15th hidden truth. Wealth is not solitary. It is relational. It does not belong to the isolated genius, but to the connected visionary. It is not hoarded by the selfish, but multiplied by the generous. It is not built in the silence of isolation, but in the chorus of collaboration. If you would be wealthy, build people, not just profit. Nurture relationships, not just resources. For in the end, money is spent, but legacy endures in the lives you touched, the doors you opened, the opportunities you created for others. That is wealth beyond calculation. There is a truth about wealth that separates the enduring from the fleeting, the builders of dynasties from the chasers of quick gain. The 16th hidden principle is this. Wealth rewards discipline, not the sudden flash of brilliance, not the once-in-a-lifetime stroke of luck, but the steady, unshakable discipline of one who masters themselves before they attempt to master money. Most imagine wealth as a lightning strike, fast, dramatic, overwhelming. They picture a moment of winning, a sudden windfall, an instant of arrival. And so they chase shortcuts, quick fixes, schemes that promise abundance without effort. But lightning does not build empires. Discipline does. Wealth is not lightning. It is fire. And fire must be tended daily, with fuel, with care, with consistency. Without discipline, it burns out. With discipline, it becomes a blaze that lights generations. Discipline is the ability to do what must be done, even when the emotions of the moment resist it. It is waking early when comfort says, stay in bed. It is saving when desire says, spend. It is working when fatigue whispers, rest. It is holding to vision when distraction lures with temptation. Discipline is the invisible hand that builds visible fortune. The poor stumble not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack discipline. They waste hours, squander income, indulge impulses. They live for the moment and sacrifice the future, and in doing so, they trade enduring wealth for temporary pleasure. The wealthy understand this trade. They practice restraint. They embrace routine. They do not depend on mood to guide their actions. They depend on discipline. They know that consistency beats intensity, that small daily acts compound into greatness, that self-mastery precedes financial mastery. Consider the builder of muscle. Strength is not gained by one extraordinary workout, but by daily discipline over years. So too with wealth. It is not the dramatic windfall, but the disciplined choices compounded quietly over time that create abundance. Discipline governs money itself. The disciplines save when others spend. They invest when others consume. They manage resources with clarity, refusing to be slaves to impulse. Because of this, their money multiplies while others evaporates. For money is not only about earning, it is about keeping, managing, and growing. Without discipline, money slips through fingers like water. But discipline is not only about money, it is about time. Time is the currency more precious than gold, and the wealthy guard it with fierce discipline. They do not waste it on endless distraction, on meaningless pursuits, on fruitless conversation. They allocate it with intention, investing hours where it multiplies, cutting away what drains. The poor squander time because they do not see its value. The wealthy discipline time because they know it is life itself. Discipline also rules the mind. Wealth is not possible with a chaotic, undisciplined thought life. The wealthy train their minds like warriors. They focus when others scatter. They think long-term when others obsess over the immediate. They resist negative voices, cultivate gratitude, sharpen vision. Mental discipline is the foundation of financial discipline, for the outer world mirrors the inner. Yet, discipline is not glamorous. It does not sparkle with excitement. It is not cheered by crowds. It is quiet, unseen, repetitive, and this is why few embrace it. The crowd seeks thrills. The wealthy embrace discipline. The crowd loves comfort. The wealthy endure consistency. The crowd seeks instant gratification. The wealthy embrace delayed reward. But here lies the paradox. Discipline, though difficult, becomes freedom. The undisciplined are slaves. Slaves to impulse, to debt, to distraction, to regret. The disciplined are free, free from financial chains, free from wasted time, free from mental clutter. Discipline appears restrictive, but it unlocks the highest form of liberty. Discipline is also contagious. A disciplined life commands respect, attracts trust, inspires others. Investors trust the disciplined entrepreneur. Partners trust the disciplined leader. Followers trust the disciplined guide. Discipline multiplies influence, and influence multiplies wealth. But discipline is tested in secret. It is not revealed in moments of applause, but in the quiet decisions when no one is watching. Do you keep your word to yourself? Do you honor your commitments in private? Do you practice excellence when there is no reward? Wealth is not built in public moments of triumph, but in private moments of discipline. Discipline also resists decay. Wealth without discipline collapses. History is filled with those who gained fortune quickly and lost it just as fast because their character could not sustain what their opportunity had delivered. They were rich in money but poor in discipline, and so their wealth was temporary. The disciplined, even if they lose, rebuild, because their wealth is not only in possessions but in the habits that create them. The wealthy endure seasons of scarcity with discipline. They cut expenses, preserve capital, focus on essentials. The poor panic, spend recklessly, or give in to despair. Discipline steadies the hand in crisis, while chaos destroys the undisciplined. But discipline is not punishment. It is alignment. It is the alignment of daily action with ultimate vision. It is the refusal to betray the future for the sake of the present. It is the sacred contract with destiny, signed not in emotion but in action, renewed each morning by the choices of the day. The wealthy cherish this contract. They protect their habits as treasures, for they know that habits are the architecture of destiny. What is repeated daily becomes who you are, and who you are determines what you build. Discipline also creates resilience. The disciplined do not collapse at the first sign of hardship, for they are trained by consistency to endure. Like a tree with deep roots, they withstand storms that uproot the shallow. Discipline is the root system of wealth. Without it, collapse is inevitable. But do not confuse discipline with rigidity. True discipline is flexible. It adapts without breaking. It adjusts course without losing direction. Rigidity snaps under pressure. Discipline bends and continues. Wealth is not about perfection, but persistence not about flawless routine, but enduring consistency. The 16th hidden truth is this: wealth is not built by chance, but by discipline. It belongs to those who master themselves, who govern their impulses, who order their time, who train their minds, who repeat excellence until it becomes identity. Discipline may feel slow, but it is sure. It may feel hard, but it is fruitful. It may feel lonely, but it is liberating. And when the harvest comes, it endures because it is rooted not in luck, not in lightning, but in the unshakable foundation of discipline. There is a truth about wealth that most resist because it demands more than strategy, more than knowledge, more than discipline. The 17th hidden principle is this: wealth requires patience, not passive waiting, not idle hoping, but active, enduring patience. The strength to stay the course when results are delayed, the vision to see beyond the immediate, the resolve to outlast those who quit too soon. Impatience is one of the greatest destroyers of wealth. It whispers lies, that progress is too slow, that results must be instant, that success is owed quickly. Impatience pushes people to abandon the path just before the breakthrough, to uproot seeds before they can grow, to sabotage destiny in the name of speed. The poor fall victim to impatience again and again. They demand quick returns, and so they gamble instead of investing. They crave fast profit, and so they chase schemes instead of building foundations. They cannot wait for the slow compounding of wisdom, skill, and capital, and so they rush into illusions of wealth that leave them poorer than before. But the wealthy think differently. They understand that patience is not weakness, but strength. They know that compounding, the slow, steady multiplication of effort, money, and knowledge is the most powerful force in wealth creation, and compounding only works for those who endure. Patience is the guardian of compounding, the protector of long-term growth. Think of the farmer. He plants in faith. He waters daily. He tends the soil, but he cannot rush the harvest. He cannot demand fruit before its season. If he is impatient, he digs up the seed and destroys it. If he is patient, he reaps abundance in time. So it is with wealth. Seeds of effort planted today may take years to bear fruit, but the patient will harvest while the impatient will have nothing. Patience is not passive. It is active endurance. It is saving consistently, even when the amounts seem small. It is showing up daily, even when results are unseen. It is holding to the vision, even when the evidence is scarce. Patience is not doing nothing. It is doing the right things for as long as necessary, until time reveals their reward. The wealthy endure this process. They resist the urge to quit in the silent seasons when the world sees no progress. They understand that silence is not absence, but incubation. Just as a seed germinates underground, wealth grows first in the unseen habits, skills, disciplines, before it emerges in visible results. Impatience cannot endure silence. It demands proof now. It demands fruit without growth. It demands reward without process. And so impatience dies empty. Patience also protects against fear. When markets shift, when storms hit, when uncertainty rises, the impatient panic and sell, retreat, abandon. The patient holds steady, adapt wisely, and wait for the storm to pass. And when it does, they find themselves stronger, wealthier, positioned for greater growth. But patience is not only financial, it is personal. Wealth requires the patience to develop yourself, to grow into the kind of person who can hold abundance without losing it. Skills are not mastered in days, character is not forged in weeks, wisdom is not gained in moments. These require years of disciplined patience. And the wealthy embrace this long refining. Consider the oak tree. It does not grow overnight. It does not rush. Year by year, its roots deepen, its trunk thickens, its branches spread. It is steady, enduring, unshakable. So too with wealth. It grows steadily, layer by layer, until it stands unmovable through generations. The impatient cut down saplings in search of quick wood. The patient grow forests. Patience also magnifies reward. The longer you allow compounding to work, the greater the harvest. A small investment doubled quickly seems significant, but a patient investment multiplied over decades becomes fortune. A small skill practiced briefly is useful, but a skill honed over years becomes mastery, irreplaceable and priceless. Patience multiplies what impatience destroys. But patience must be paired with action. Waiting without working is not patience, it is laziness. True patience is active. It sows, it builds, it prepares, it endures. It does not demand speed, but it demands persistence. It does not sit idle, but it resists despair. The wealthy do not simply wait for wealth to arrive. They work, they sow, they invest, and they trust that time will honor their labor. Impatience is born of comparison. The poor look at others' success and demand it instantly for themselves. They see the harvest, but ignore the years of sowing that preceded it. They covet fruit without recognizing the patience behind it. The wealthy are not distracted by comparison. They focus on their own process, their own timeline, their own season. They understand that every harvest comes in its time. Patience is also humility. It acknowledges that you are not in control of everything, that timing belongs partly to forces beyond you. The farmer cannot control the weather. The investor cannot control the market. The builder cannot control every circumstance. Patience bows to this reality, not in defeat, but in wisdom. It prepares, it endures, it persists, trusting that what is sown faithfully will, in due time, be reaped. The impatient demand control, and in failing to achieve it, they self-destruct. The patient release control, and in doing so, they prosper. But patience is costly. It demands sacrifice of immediate pleasure, of quick gratification, of fast recognition. It asks you to delay the thrill of now for the fulfillment of later. Few are willing to pay this cost. The wealthy pay it gladly, because they know the later is greater. Patience also builds legacy. Quick wealth often dies with its owner, squandered because it was never rooted in time-tested habits. But wealth built patiently over years endures. It becomes generational, a foundation for those who follow. Patience does not only create riches, it creates dynasties. The 17th hidden truth is this: wealth is a long game. It belongs not to those who sprint briefly, but to those who run steadily. It belongs not to those who demand speed, but to those who embrace process. It belongs not to those who quit in the silence, but to those who endure until the harvest. If you would be wealthy, cultivate patience. Resist the poison of haste, the lie of instant success, the temptation of shortcuts. Plant faithfully, work diligently, endure silently. For in the end, time is not your enemy. It is your ally. If you sow with patience, time multiplies your effort. If you rush with impatience, time exposes your folly. Be patient, for wealth is not lightning, it is the oak. It does not flash and vanish. It grows and endures, and it belongs to those who wait. The 18th hidden truth of wealth is this: wealth requires courage, not reckless daring, not blind risk, but true courage, the strength to act when fear whispers wait, the resolve to step forward when uncertainty surrounds, the boldness to claim opportunities others shrink from. Fear is the silent thief of fortune. It keeps men bound to small lives, chained to safe routines, imprisoned by hesitation. Fear whispers, don't try, don't risk, don't step forward. It promises safety, but delivers stagnation. It disguises itself as caution, but its true purpose is paralysis. Those who obey fear never build, never grow, never rise beyond survival. Courage, then, is the dividing line between the poor and the wealthy. The poor let fear dictate their choices. They avoid investments, delay opportunities, resist change. The wealthy acknowledge fear but do not bow to it. They feel its weight but act anyway. For courage is not the absence of fear, it is mastery over fear. Consider the entrepreneur who risks reputation, time, and resources to create something new. He does not act because he is unafraid. He acts because his vision is greater than his fear. Consider the investor who dares to place capital where others hesitate. She does not act because she knows the outcome with certainty. She acts because she has studied, prepared, and chosen courage over paralysis. Courage separates the spectators from the players. Many stand on the sidelines of wealth, watching, analyzing, waiting for the perfect moment. That moment never comes. Perfection is an illusion. Only courage enters the field, imperfect but decisive, and only courage reaps the rewards. Fear thrives on what-ifs. What if I lose? What if I fail? What if I am wrong? Courage answers with a greater question. What if I win? What if I succeed? What if this is the step that changes everything? Fear magnifies the risk. Courage magnifies the reward. But courage is not recklessness. It is not blind leaps without wisdom. True courage is informed. It studies, prepares, calculates, but once the work is done, courage moves forward even when certainty is impossible. For certainty is never guaranteed. Every great wealth journey began with a step into the unknown. The wealthy are willing to take that step. They risk rejection, failure, loss, and ridicule. They face storms, setbacks, and uncertainty. Yet they move forward, and in moving, they discover that fortune favors the bold, not because the bold are always right, but because they dare to play where others only watch. Fear convinces many to wait for the safe path. But no path is truly safe. Safety itself is an illusion. To stay in place is also to risk irrelevance, poverty, regret. The poor believe risk is only inaction. The wealthy know risk also lives in inaction. Courage is also required to stand apart. Wealth often demands choices that defy the crowd. The crowd says, spend. The courageous save. The crowd says, consume. The courageous invest. The crowd says, stay comfortable. The courageous build new. To resist the pressure of conformity requires courage deeper than any financial calculation. Courage also confronts failure differently. The fearful see failure as death, a reason to quit. The courageous see failure as tuition, the price of wisdom. Every wealthy man has scars. Every wealthy woman has stories of ventures that collapsed, of risks that didn't return, of paths that ended in loss. But they did not quit. They used the lessons as fuel for the next attempt. Fear fears failure. Courage embraces it. Courage also protects vision. To dream of wealth is easy. To pursue it relentlessly is hard. Along the way, voices will rise to discourage. It can't be done. You are foolish. You will lose everything. To silence those voices or to press forward in spite of them requires courage. The wealthy walk roads mocked by others until the results speak louder than the mockery. Fear magnifies the temporary pain of risk. Courage magnifies the permanent reward of success. The fearful focus on what could go wrong in the next moment. The courageous focus on what could go right over the next decade. This shift of perspective transforms hesitation into action. Courage is also required for self-mastery. Wealth demands decisions that are not popular, not easy, not immediately rewarding. To delay gratification, to sacrifice comfort, to endure uncertainty, all these require courage. For it is easier to stay entertained, easier to stay employed, easier to stay dependent. To break free requires the courage to be uncomfortable. The battlefield of wealth is not external first, it is internal. Fear rises within, whispering excuses, magnifying risks, exaggerating dangers. Courage must be chosen in the mind before it is lived in the world. The wealthy win this inner battle repeatedly, training themselves to act in spite of fear until courage becomes second nature. Courage also expands capacity. Each act of courage enlarges the soul, stretches the mind, strengthens the will. With each risk endured, with each obstacle faced, the individual becomes more capable, more resilient, more powerful. Wealth then becomes not only the reward for courage, but the byproduct of becoming courageous. The cowardly never know this growth. By avoiding fear, they remain small. By fleeing risk, they remain weak. By hiding from opportunity, they remain poor. But courage must be renewed daily. Fear does not disappear after one act of bravery. It returns, whispering again. Courage must be chosen again. The wealthy live lives of repeated courage, small decisions daily, large decisions occasionally, but always a posture of boldness. Consider the pioneers who left familiar lands to cross oceans, risking storms, hunger, and death to reach new worlds. Without their courage, nations would not exist. So too with wealth. The pioneers of industry, technology, art, and commerce dared to risk reputation and resource to create new worlds of prosperity. All wealth is built on the foundation of someone's courage. The 18th truth is clear. Wealth requires courage. Not all will embrace it. Many will let fear rule their lives, and they will die with dreams untested, visions untried, and wealth unclaimed. But those who dare, those who act in spite of trembling hands, pounding hearts, and uncertain paths, will find riches not only in their accounts, but in their souls. For wealth is not given to the fearful. It is entrusted to the courageous. Do not wait for fear to vanish. It never will. Act while afraid. Build while uncertain. Step while trembling. For courage is not the absence of fear. It is obedience to vision in the presence of fear. And it is this obedience that creates fortunes. Wealth belongs to the courageous. The question is not whether fear will come. The question is whether you will bow to it or rise above it. Choose courage and you choose wealth. The 19th hidden truth of wealth is this. Wealth is not measured only in what you earn. It is measured in what you preserve, what you multiply, and what you pass on. Wealth without preservation is a leaking vessel. Wealth without multiplication is a stagnant pond. Wealth without legacy is a life that ends in silence. Many chase income but never learn preservation. They increase their earnings, but their lifestyle expands in equal measure. As more comes in, more goes out. They have money but no wealth. They appear prosperous but live secretly in fear. Fear of the next emergency, fear of the next downturn, fear of the next dry season. Their wealth is an illusion, for it has no foundation. The wealthy understand that preservation is the first law of wealth. It is not enough to earn, you must guard. Not enough to gather, you must protect. Every great fortune began with someone who knew how to preserve what was earned, to resist the temptation of instant gratification, to store, to save, to build reserves. Preservation is discipline made visible in numbers. But preservation alone is not enough. To preserve without multiplying is to bury the seed in the ground and never reap the harvest. Wealth grows only when preservation is followed by multiplication. Multiplication is the art of investment. turning 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. The poor consume the seed, the wise plant it, the wealthy cultivate fields. Multiplication requires knowledge. It requires patience. It requires vision. Not every soil is fertile, not every season is right, but those who study, who learn, who seek counsel, who watch the cycles of opportunity, they know where to plant and when to harvest. And over time, their wealth compounds, like rivers joining rivers, like streams becoming oceans. But even multiplication is not the end. For what good is wealth if it dies with you? What good are riches if they vanish when your breath ceases? True wealth thinks beyond the individual. It thinks of legacy. Legacy is the passing of wisdom, resources, and values to those who follow. Legacy transforms one life of wealth into generations of prosperity. The wealthy understand this. They build structures, trusts, institutions. They mentor, teach, and train. They pass not only money, but mindset, not only assets, but principles. For if you give money without wisdom, you give fuel to destruction. But if you give wisdom with money, you give wings to destiny. The poor rarely think of legacy. They think only of survival today. And because of this, each generation must start again, must rebuild from nothing, must struggle anew. But the wealthy plant trees under whose shade they may never sit. They create foundations, not just for their children, but for their children's children. Wealth, then, has 3 pillars: preservation, multiplication, and legacy. Without preservation, wealth leaks. Without multiplication, wealth stagnates. Without legacy, wealth dies. Preservation demands discipline. It is the courage to say no when others say yes, to delay the purchase, to restrain the appetite, to guard against waste. Discipline is invisible wealth. You do not see it in what is spent. You see it in what is kept. Multiplication demands courage and wisdom. To risk, to plant, to wait, to endure the uncertainty of seasons. Multiplication requires the patience of the farmer who trusts the harvest, even when the field looks barren. Legacy demands vision, to think beyond self, beyond today, beyond comfort, to shape not only your own life, but the destiny of those who will never know your name. Legacy requires humility, the recognition that wealth is not owned, but stewarded, that we are custodians, not masters. But let us be clear, preservation without generosity becomes hoarding. Multiplication without integrity becomes exploitation. Legacy without love becomes control. Wealth must be balanced, guided by principles deeper than profit. This is why the wealthy invest not only in accounts, but in character, for without character, wealth destroys. Without values, wealth corrupts. True legacy is not only in what you leave, but in who you raise, in the people you shape, in the culture you cultivate. Preservation, multiplication, and legacy are not separate. They are a cycle. Preservation creates the seed. Multiplication grows the harvest. Legacy plants new seeds in future generations, and so wealth continues like a river that never runs dry. The poor break the cycle at the first step. They fail to preserve, so they never have seed, or they preserve but never multiply, so their wealth withers. Or they multiply but never build legacy, so their wealth dies with them. But the wealthy complete the cycle, and because of this, their wealth endures. Imagine a kingdom. The foolish king spends all on feasts and pleasures, leaving his land barren. The cautious king saves all in vaults, but his people starve. The wise king preserves enough for stability, invests in fertile lands, multiplies harvests, and builds schools, roads, and systems for his descendants. His kingdom thrives not for a season, but for generations. That is wealth. But the challenge is this. Each step of the cycle requires a different strength. Preservation requires restraint. Multiplication requires risk. Legacy requires vision. Few master all 3. That is why wealth is rare. But those who dare, those who learn, those who discipline themselves, they unlock the secret. The 19th truth is not merely about money, it is about time. For preservation teaches patience, multiplication teaches endurance, and legacy teaches eternity. Wealth is not about this moment. It is about the unfolding of moments across lifetimes. Preserve, multiply, pass on. This is the hidden rhythm of lasting wealth. And those who master it, those who discipline themselves to preserve, those who invest with courage to multiply, those who love with vision to leave legacy. They build not only fortunes but dynasties. For true wealth is not measured by what you hold in your hands today. It is measured by the fruit of your labor in generations yet unborn. The 20th hidden truth of wealth is this: wealth is not the end, it is the means. Wealth is not the destination, it is the instrument. Wealth is not the crown, it is the tool with which you build the kingdom. So many misunderstand this final truth. They think wealth is life's ultimate prize, the summit of ambition, the final chapter of success. They spend their days and nights chasing it, believing that once it is captured, they will finally rest, finally be fulfilled, finally be whole. But those who reach wealth discover the truth. Wealth cannot satisfy the hunger of the soul. It cannot heal the wounds of the heart. It cannot grant meaning to an empty life. Wealth is not the goal. Wealth is the resource with which you pursue the true goal: impact, freedom, legacy, destiny. Money is not the master. It is the servant. The poor worship it. The wise use it. When wealth becomes the end, it corrupts. It consumes the one who holds it, twisting every decision into greed, every relationship into transaction, every dream into a calculation. Those who make wealth their god find themselves enslaved by the very thing they sought for freedom. But when wealth is seen as a means, it empowers. It builds, heals, and restores. It creates opportunities, opens doors, funds visions, sustains missions. It liberates time so that you may focus on purpose. It extends your reach so that your impact travels further than your voice. The wealthy who endure, who live with joy and not torment, are those who have discovered this truth. They see wealth not as the finish line, but as the foundation, not as the treasure, but as the tool. They measure their lives not by how much they own, but by how much they accomplish with what they own. This is why some of the richest lives are not those with the largest accounts, but those with the greatest impact. For what good is money if it serves only self? What glory is wealth if it builds no future, if it touches no lives, if it leaves no mark upon the earth? Wealth is a force. Like fire, it can destroy or it can warm. Like water, it can drown or it can give life. Like power, it can oppress or it can liberate. The difference lies in whether you make wealth your end or your means. The poor misunderstand this. They think wealth will make them someone. But wealth never creates character. It only amplifies what is already there. If you are generous without money, you will be more generous with it. If you are selfish without money, you will be more selfish with it. If you are disciplined without wealth, you will multiply it. If you are reckless without wealth, you will squander it. Wealth is a mirror. It reveals the soul. It shows the world who you are, magnified by resources. This is why wealth without purpose corrupts, and wealth with purpose transforms. The final hidden truth, then, is this: wealth was never meant for you alone. It was entrusted to you for stewardship. You are not the owner, you are the custodian. You hold it for a time, and then it moves on. The question is not whether you will lose it, for one day you will leave it behind. The question is whether you will leave it wasted or multiplied, whether you will leave it as ashes or as a foundation, whether your wealth will die with you or live beyond you. The greatest wealth is measured not in numbers, but in impact. Who was lifted because of your wealth? Who was educated? Who was freed from bondage? Who found opportunity? Who discovered destiny because you were bold enough to see wealth as a tool and not as a god? Wealth is also freedom, but not the shallow freedom of luxury. True freedom is the ability to live by principle, to say no when others are trapped in yes, to pursue vision when others are enslaved by survival. Wealth, when properly used, liberates time, energy, and focus so that you may pour your life into what truly matters. But freedom is not given to the unprepared. For many, wealth brings bondage instead. Bondage to excess, to comparison, to fear of loss. They gain riches but lose peace. They gain assets but lose soul. Only those who have mastered the earlier truths, discipline, courage, vision, generosity, legacy, can use wealth without being consumed by it. Think of the builder. The hammer in his hand is not the end. It is the means. He does not worship the hammer. He does not spend his life accumulating hammers. He uses it to build homes, shelters, places of safety. Wealth is your hammer. Will you spend your days polishing it, counting it, hoarding it, or will you build with it? This is the dividing line between the wealthy who are remembered and the wealthy who are forgotten. Those who hoard are erased by time. Those who build with wealth leave monuments, institutions, legacies that speak for centuries. So let us ask, what will your wealth build? What vision will it fund? What chains will it break? What voices will it amplify? What light will it ignite? The poor dream of wealth for comfort. The wise dream of wealth for purpose. The poor see money as the end of struggle. The wise see money as the beginning of destiny. The poor believe wealth is the crown. The wise know wealth is only the tool to build the true crown, character, impact, and legacy. This is why the final truth cannot be separated from all the others. Without discipline, your wealth leaks. Without courage, your wealth stagnates. Without vision, your wealth dies with you. Without purpose, your wealth consumes you. Every truth leads here, to this final revelation. Wealth is the servant of destiny. Do not chase it as your God commanded as your tool. Do not live for it. Make it live for you. Do not hoard it. Deploy it. Do not fear it. Master it. For wealth is not the end. It is only the means. And those who understand this, those who see wealth not as their master but as their servant, are the ones who live free, build deeply, and leave legacies that eternity remembers. This is the hidden truth no one tells you. The final secret of wealth is not about money at all. It is about mastery of self, of vision, of purpose. Money comes and goes, but the one who has discovered that wealth is a tool will never be poor. For even without riches, they have what is greater, the power to create, to build, to give, to impact. The final question is not how much you will earn. The final question is what you will build with what you earn. And if your answer is great enough, if your vision is bold enough, if your purpose is pure enough, then wealth will find its place not as your master but as your means.